third segment of COVID-related skin conditions. We've talked about Kawasaki syndrome so far. We've talked about what hand eczema we're seeing as a result of hand sanitizers, wearing gloves, and these new conditions that we're under. And finally, today we're going to talk about Maskne. So I'll let you take it from there.
So I like the term Maskne that you used. It's been around for a while now. I think it's been coined by a couple of different doctors, dermatologists. And basically, since everyone's wearing masks, we also have Maskne. So basically, anywhere that the mask touches on the face is prone to friction. It's prone to getting the hair follicles irritated by taking the mask on and off. Mm-hmm. And then also on top of that, depending on what you put on your face, can also get in the follicle even more and get absorbed deeper into the follicle and cause breakouts. It's a frustrating condition because even people who've never had acne are suddenly developing acne in weird areas. And the other thing
I have to interrupt here. Even you can relate to it yourself, right?
I have acne. Maskne.
Yeah. Of the two of us, you've always had fabulous skin, and I'm the one that's always dealt with acne. I'm home, not going out as much. I'm with the kids, so I don't have to wear makeup. My skin's clearing up, and he found a pimple the other day.
No one is immune. No one is
human.
immune. Well, let's put things in perspective. Obviously, we're in the middle of a global pandemic, so a little Maskne is not a huge ordeal. Obviously, it's not going to hurt anybody, but we are starting to see the light of day. We're leaving the house, and humans are social creatures. And of course, now that we're actually able to see other people and interact, no one really wants to have breakouts, or actually breakouts right along the line of where a mask would go. So it's kind of obvious, but also frustrating at the same time. And I personally will attest, somewhat painful. But I guess your next question would be?
My next question would be, what are the factors other than irritation, pressure, friction? I know I personally feel just yuck under the mask. I mean, there's no other word for it. People are getting panic attacks, and but it's our responsibility to wear these masks to protect ourselves and others. But it just feels gross under there. Anything from a bacterial standpoint or pH or?
No, it's a good question, and I've read a lot of different sources on it, a lot of different dermatologists and other types of physicians who will recommend different things and different ingredients. First, let's start by saying there's an entire subset of acne known as acne mechanica, which basically means what I explained earlier, the occlusion of the follicle or the irritation of the follicle, or frequent friction or rubbing. My young athletes, football players get it on their chin straps, wrestlers get it on their chin straps, even runners sometimes get acne in areas that are prone to friction. So it's a whole subset of acne that can develop in people or patients who don't even suffer from acne as a genetic cause. So any skin that you take and you irritate and you rub and you molest, or whatever it is, active verb that you do to the skin or the hair follicle, can break it out, unfortunately. And so, I've read some sources that say, you can use a non-comedogenic moisturizer underneath to kind of cushion the skin.
Like a barrier?
A barrier, so to say. You can also use, definitely avoid makeup or heavy makeup, because as I mentioned earlier, into the follicle even more, it could get included.
And no one's seeing what's under there anyways, so.
Well, that's a personal choice. Obviously, some patients, even when they take the mask off to go to eat dinner now, you can eat dinner, you want to look good, you want to look presentable, you want to be on a date. So I try not to judge, I try to help and see what I can do to help solve the problem. I think that staying well hydrated is very important. I think that the same rules of thumb apply to acne mechanica as they do to typical acne, so avoid comedogenic products for sure.
Well, tell people that don't understand, it's not that it's a big word, but a lot of people don't understand what the word comedogenic means, so let's break it down.
In fact, it's a very good question. Sometimes I don't understand what non-comedogenic means, because some of the things that I think for sure would clog pores don't, like zinc. I would think would clog pores for sure.
It's a large molecule.
It's a large molecule and doesn't really clog pores. So you can use a barrier like butt cream or Desitin or even Van-Apply ointment. Some of those thicker molecules can be used as a barrier around the actual physical mask. And then, the skincare regimen that you use can also be a little bit more keratolytic, or trying to unroof the open or closed comedone with
Right.
salicylic acid type washes.
The clogged pore.
The clogged pore. And then, as it relates to moisturizing, of course, look at the label and look for products that have the word non-comedogenic or oil-free, and those are a little bit more acceptable to use in this type of condition, where if you need to moisturize, everyone needs to moisturize pretty much, or use a sunblock in the mornings, then look for that oil-free or non-comedogenic in your products. Some of the nicer brands are Aveeno, CeraVe. Some dermatologists like the last in line. That's more of a branded product that's not sold in stores but in dermatologist offices. But there's definitely a workaround to Maskne. It's just that I think people need to know that it's unavoidable. It's out there. We all have it. We all suffer from it, unfortunately. I think it's going to become acceptable. It's the norm. We all have to wear a mask. Mm-hmm. And so I think just about everyone at some point will suffer from it. And
so all skin types, nobody's really...
No one's immune. I think the best thing you can do is basically accept it, work around it. I think that if you can avoid the friction around the actual mask itself, that sometimes helps a lot. And even the straps too sometimes are irritating. You can get acne behind the ear, depending on the type of mask that you have. So
I do think it's actually interesting that you mentioned baby butt paste or like a zinc barrier, because we have 3 little ones and we still have one in diapers, and that's actually a treatment that we use to create a barrier cream, to prevent irritation from the diaper. So as a mom, I'm relating this to to the face. So diaper irritation treatment for our Maskne.
For a more elegant product, you can look for Vanaply. A lot of doctors recommend that. Dermatologists like that product as a barrier, and that's something. Don't use a heavy coat because too heavy of a coat obviously will make everything greasy and you won't be happy. So I think it really depends on the type of breakouts that you're having. If they're periodic and not too bad, then I think maybe even you can probably consider skipping the barrier, but working on the acne itself. So picking a non-comedogenic or oil-free moisturizer.
What do you think about spot treatments?
For sure, I think this is similar to any type of acne.
Right.
For the most part, it's just the cause is a little bit different. Sometimes there's hormonal acne, there's mechanical acne. There's all kinds of different.
What
types
would you
of acne.
recommend, say, for a patient or for a person that's never had acne before? So maybe they don't know what a spot treatment is. They've never had to look at treatments or even over the counters for acne.
Well, there's a lot of different over-the-counter products that you can use to dry up the pimple. You see a red, sometimes tender, painful pimple. You see the white pus in there. So you can go to the Walgreens, CVS, any local pharmacy, pick up benzoyl peroxide in 10%. That's very dry. You can put it right on there.
Okay.
Some of these products are tinted, so those are excellent to use for spot treatment, where you don't necessarily have to treat your entire face, but you can find a tinted benzoyl peroxide salicylic product. Neutrogena makes a nice tinted salicylic product that you can use as a concealer and as a treatment.
Okay.
So I recommend those. And I also like BB or CC creams that are oil-free, non-comedogenic as your daily facial moisturizer, because those are also good concealers, and I find them to be a little bit effective for acne too, in my personal experience.
And we have one that we love.
Yeah, I like
our Aestheti RX, the Matte RX.
Yeah, so some doctors have their own private label, and they use certain types of tinted moisturizers, tinted products.
Are there over-the-counters that you like?
Over the counter, you can get CC cream. Aveeno makes a CC cream. It used to be the old Aveeno Positively Radiant, but now it's a CC cream. You can buy a BB cream. There's different lines.
And you can get those even at Walmart.
Walmart, CVS, any local pharmacy. You can get them online. You can pretty much, you can do just about anything that has some of the drying products in it, and also if you want to go to a moisturizer, then you can get those at the local store as well. So benzoyl peroxide, salicylic acids, sometimes they're used as a spot treatment. Sometimes they also have, or are mixed in with concealer, so you can both conceal and spot treat. And then at the same time, you can get a daily facial moisturizer that can function as a daily facial moisturizer, sunblock, and also a concealer. And some of those tend to work a little bit better for acne than others. Like I find Aveeno sometimes dries out acne breakouts a little bit better than the other moisturizers. It's not as thick. Word of advice is, if you're going to pick don't overdo it. Revisit it. You can wait another day. After you've picked it, try to dry it out with some soap and some water, and then just leave it alone. Do your best to see it again tomorrow, and you'll see maybe there's a little bit more pus, and it'll be easier to remove it the next day or even the next day. You will save yourself a lot of trouble by revisiting a pimple than overdoing it on the first day.
Exactly.
If you take it slow, take it stepwise, take it 2-3 days, it'll go away faster.
Right.
If you obsess over it, try to get rid of it, and are there all day.
You've got a friend
digging,
for life.
You may get a friend for life, exactly. That's a good way to put it.
But really, the best advice is what? Like, if you can help it, leave it alone.
The best advice is to try to dry it out with
Okay.
whether soap and water or one of the benzoyl
Topicals.
peroxide products or the salicylic acid products. But it's completely understandable if you have one zit in the middle of your face and it's tender and you're going to get at it one way or another.
Hey, you say that now because you've lived it. If I were to ask him a week ago, I don't know.
You know,
I really think that, now that everyone's wearing masks, even, people like yourself that have never had a skin issue like acne before, everybody can relate. So some people are, full grown adults and they're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? So.
Well, it's once again important to realize that we're all going through a major change in our lives. We're stressed out.
Yeah.
I see patients coming in with all kinds of issues that they never had or were under wraps for years, and all of a sudden things are flaring. We have rosacea flares, acne flares, psoriasis, eczema. We're stressed out. We're not used to these types of conditions. We're not used to being indoors all the time. We're not used to wearing a mask. And so
stress is the root of a lot of disease.
It is, and so is dehydration and not exercising and diet, and all those things have been affected by this pandemic. And I think that as we're starting to get out of the house and do things more, these things are becoming more important to also keep in mind. It's time to get back to normal as far as not just regular skincare, but also exercise, diet, and taking care of your skin, moisturizing, and also sunblock and sun protection. And if you do get a god-awful Maskne breakout and you must pick it, then try to remove it first. Word of advice, don't get too crazy with it and revisit it. That's also very important. Don't obsess over that one pimple that you have to get all out, because sometimes if you obsess over it, if you try to get everything out, you may create more of a problem.
Okay. All right, well, I think that about sums it up. So thank you for tuning in. We hope everybody is staying safe, healthy, and happy. And we're right here, fireside, with you until our next chat. Take care. Bye.
Bye.